We're all a little depraved and debaucherous. Here is the king of podcasts.
And unlike other shows that might do podcasts, and they think they're going to do like what regular radio and television does and take some time off. No, as you know, yours truly, king of podcasts, never takes time off. So I don't go away for the holidays and not record shows. No, unless I'm absolutely sick and I just can't do it. No, I haven't done that. And I'm not going to do that. Just not my system. I only missed one episode of anything this year in my the entire year. And that was the last week of March. And that was my Broadcasters podcast. That's the only one I missed. Because I was just, by that point, I was so sick. And I remember getting past that. And I'm saying to myself, all right, well, I'm done now. And I'm like, I was already like at the weekend. And normally I would record that on a Thursday night or a Friday night. And I just couldn't fit it in. And it was just not enough time to go and just put a show together. I didn't want to cram it. So I just let it go. It's one of the few times I do that. But right now I have more time than I normally do. So I have time to go and record this. And I have time to go and just put this all together and, go look what there is. And obviously, for this program, there's never a shortage of content on this program. There's always something they're going to bring up. And no exception tonight. We reported this on The Depraved and the Debaucherous back in September. And it has now come to fruition. 2 months later, Tinder has come out with their $500 subscription plan. This is ridiculous. And people are already bashing it, as they should. There is no way you can think that anyone in the right mind thinks that Tinder, of all places, where some people are going to just be willing to go and just take the freemium model and get the 30 swipes they get or whatever they get for a day, and then they have to go and come back later because you're basically giving them just the attention span that they have. And for those that want to get on here, remember we talked about the fact that they think that Tinder really thinks that because you're going to give more access, you're going to make yourselves the most prominent, that there's going to be an overwhelming presence of your profile on every beautiful girl's Tinder feed, and they're going to swipe to you. Okay. Now, it can be one of two things. If a woman finds out that they are being swiped over and they're being liked by a Tinder Select profile, for those women that are looking on there, it's a sugar daddy, basically. Because if the woman sees that a profile that is normally not someone they would go for, if they're willing to go and spend $500 in a month and say, oh, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and pitch on here and I'm going to go ahead and take a chance on this guy because he's not attractive to me, but he's got money. That's a lot of money to put on an online dating site, of all of them. Okay, because that's 4 times more than the premium monthly subscription for Seeking Arrangement or Seeking.com. And for Ashley Madison, I think it's like 3 times the amount. It's a lot of money. And do you honestly think that's going to really work out? Like, it's just, we already know that sugar daddies were always being sought out, or sugar babies were being sought out on Tinder. Now it's much more prominent. And for Tinder, if they can get a couple hundred guys by invite only to go ahead and buy into the cash grab, they're going to do that. They're more than happy to go and do that. So I brought this up and we talked about everything that was being done with this. And still, I can't believe that somebody is going to go ahead and buy it. And I'm curious who would buy it. This has actually been going on for the whole year, because this goes back to January. I brought this up. Back in January, I brought up the story where Tinder was going to go ahead, and Hinge and Tinder were going to go ahead and put pricier premium features. We talked about it. So back in January, they were testing a newer high paid tier that could cost daters $500 a month. Now, at that time, when we brought it up, I took the story from Gizmodo, and we'll just go ahead and look at what they had said was the testing when they decided. And then we'll talk about the final product that they decided to go and put out. So the app is still free for regular tier users, but those that want to invest in love, there's a new tier that'll be priced up. This is for Hinge, by the way. That's gone up to $60 a month. And then we talked about Tinder. Now, originally the idea was going to be called Tinder Vault. So in the Tinder version, it will be for users that have a high propensity to pay. And that Match Group that owns Tinder thinks that they can be able to generate $100 million in revenue in 2023 by doing something like this, and even for next year. But no, this is by having Hinge and Tinder part of their portfolio. They think they can do something with that. So let's go and talk about what they actually decided to do. Like I said, there were episodes, we talked about this already. We got you prepped for this, and now they dropped it December 18th, and here it is. Let's go to the Shade Room. There's a good place to start. I always catch your stuff over on Instagram and always catch this here. So here we go. $499 monthly. So now, users with access can message people they have not matched with up to twice a week. And remember, Tinder, you can only message those who have matched with you. So yeah, now you're going to get barraged. Some of you beautiful women, you're going to get barraged by these Tinder Select types that are not going to be able to go in and reach out to you twice a week. They're paying for access, of which you're not even going to care unless you are seeking a sugar daddy or you don't mind taking their money. Now, the company's made Tinder Select exclusive, invite only. That's only going to the less than 1% of users right now, and for those most active in the app. So users are going to get invited. They will fill out an application and undergo a 5-point screening process. 5-point, that's it? And a user's profile has to have a verified picture, a biography, 5 interests, 4 images, and details about what they seek to gain from using Tinder. Could you imagine if any scammers decided to go and use Tinder Select and be willing to go and just put down the monthly price just to see what happens? Because I can see that. And Hypebeast reports that Tinder Select users must show relationship intent. So it can't be sugar daddies. How do we know that? How do you know that for sure? It can be written in the profile, but once they get into conversation. Now, I'm wondering which women will decide to go ahead and answer a Tinder Select profile and what they decide to do. Because, right now, money's tough. Money's tight. Maybe somebody will do something about it. Now, the chief product officer, Mark Van Ryswyk, wrote about this, and he says, quote, "We know that there's a subset of highly engaged and active users who prioritize more effective and efficient ways to find connections. So we engaged in extensive tests and feedback with this audience over the past several months to develop a completely new offering." I don't know. So they decided, let's get more into this. Because people just were outraged by the fact that Tinder could go and get away with it. And they decided to go do it. So they announced the launch back in September. We talked about it here on the program. And at $4.99 a month, $500. Now it's officially launched. And people started commenting about it. One YouTuber says, "How down bad you gotta be? At this point, just get an escort." Someone on X points out that it just hit the club with $500. They could probably get as lucky as they could paying the same amount on Tinder for a month. Now look, $500. If you went to a strip club, per se, if you wanted to go to a strip club, you could probably do really well, and you might get the champagne room with the girl, which maybe will be about as far as you'll go with the girl that you meet on Tinder. And you still have to go and most likely date or take her out or do something before you're just not going to get her in bed just like that. Okay. But $500, if you're going to use that, okay. I don't even know what you do, because you're thinking that Tinder's thinking that this is like a matchmaking service. They're not offering anything extra for people to pay for that $500. Just access they would normally not get. Like they're overriding the access for them to get to the women they want to talk to, the highest end women possible. Make sure that they get to swipe right on them and be able to message them. So not even bother swiping. Are there going to be women on Tinder that are going to be happy about the fact that any guy can just go and swipe and they can't control who messages them? So these Tinder Select folks They could be complete rich assholes, or rich simps, and they could be, manipulative and narcissistic, and who knows what they could be. The women, I don't know if they're getting any kind of comments about this, but we know, and this is from Dexterdo, these additional benefits translate into date-worthy matches for subscribers isn't exactly quantified either. But they're saying that people will be willing to pay for it. My thing is that, how many women are you going to meet out of that select few that are going to be close to you? Unless you think that, I'm going to put the $500 a month down, and then I'm going to go travel to go see a girl. This is really escort sugar daddy territory. And let me just tell you like this, okay? This is a fact. If you wanted to take that $500 and you were just wanting to get off, okay, you're not looking for a relationship. If you're putting that kind of money down, okay, you decide to put that money down here for instant access to the girls that you want because you're trying to go for the highest quality woman that you think you can find on Tinder. And the highest quality woman that is on Tinder will probably have the intentions of saying, well, they're not looking for a relationship. They're looking to make something extra for themselves or just, be spoiled or whatever, or just find a sugar daddy. You could take that same amount of money right there. Literally, you could go twice a month to any places that offer happy endings and go around the world. I'm just telling you that's the fact. Anywhere in this country, most likely, you could go somewhere. Look, down here in South Florida, I can tell you for a fact that there are places that have, either Spanish or Asian. Let me tell you, if you shake that much money in their hand, like again, it doesn't have to be $500, it can be $250. You can shake that cash in their face. They will take it, and they will take you to a room and take care of you, and completely satisfy whatever need you want. They will service you completely. That's just the way it is. And escorts, hey, you want to go? The back page might be gone, but trust me, there's other places you can go. All right? There are other sites out there, and you know what? They're going to do the same thing. There will be women that if you go ahead and shake $250 cash, if you want to do that, so twice a month you get yourself off, and that means you're going to get the girl for basically what? For a couple of hours of your time, of her company. For that kind of money, look, for some girls, to be able to get that and make that much in, say, like 2 or 3 hours. Okay, so let's say 2 hours at $250, $125 an hour. You're not going to make that in a strip club. You're going to make that in a lot of places. So if women are willing to put their bodies on the line and willing to go ahead and overlook the fact they might be doing something sexual just that for somebody they don't care about, it's just basically pay for play. If they don't mind that, you're going to find some woman that will do that. Young woman that will not care about that. And by the way, how long will that take for a woman to go ahead and make on OnlyFans? $250. For some women, they're not going to make that subscription in a couple of weeks. That's not going to happen. So they can look at this and say, well, you know what? This might work for me. And people on X were roasting this idea. Indy 100, they tell the story. And some of the comments we still get in here are the same. One says, if you're spending $6,000 a year on Tinder, you're not down bad. You're down horrendous. Quit while you're ahead. And then another says, you need to reevaluate your entire life if you are paying $4.99 a month for Tinder. And then we move along. If you're struggling to land dates on Tinder, I promise you the $500 a month plan is not the solution. So a lot of sites are kind of jumping on board here, and they're telling what is the way it is, just how it is right now. You could be doing so much more with that $500. And listen, if you want to just dedicate that money to dating, it's not out of the realm of possibility, because if you think about $500 a month, how much do some guys already spend to go out on a regular weekend every week all month long? Like, there's more than enough guys that spend $500 just to go out, right? Just go out. So if it's drinks, and this is just like hang out with the guys with the intention of finding a girl to go and hook up with, or a bunch of girls to hook up with. And then the same thing goes for like dates. Like, how many times you might have guys that still get to go out on dates, And if they got to go on first, second, third, fourth dates, they're at least spending $500 in a month on multiple dates. And if the guy is looking to go and make something out of that and make sure he gets something from it, there's no guarantee, right? So listen, if guys just want to hook up for that, there's other ways to do it. There are the depraved and debaucherous ways to go ahead and take that money and put it towards something else. This is why this program's here. If you're willing to go ahead and set aside that much money on investment, I don't need to go and tell you about how much you can make if you just put that into a CD or you just put that into a stock, okay? Or whatever portfolio. You could make money back on that and you would do better with that money than wasting it away on Tinder. They should not get your money. This goes for everybody. Even anybody who's rich. You should not give this company your money. Not even in the slightest. And I hope some of you will get this message out there and you will pass it along and you will tell people, do not do this. Now that Tinder's done this, the question is, who else goes this route? We've seen other sites out there try to do the same thing. The League, any of these sites, if you see any of these sites now, and now they offer you an option like that, this is where I go over and over. If you want to even do online dating at all, I'm telling you, you go to the sugar daddy sites. You can go to Seeking. You can go to Sugar Babies. You can go to Sugar Daddy with a D-I-E at the end. There's other ones out there. And the truth is, you're going to meet more quality women, honestly, there than you will on Tinder. You know, and it wasn't that long ago I got back on Tinder. I've gone on there once in a while to see what there is, but there really isn't anything. Not to mention, you know, once you get to the point where you have enough women that decide to go ahead and just drop you, like, here's the other thing. On Tinder Select, like, are the guys being taken off? Like, are they going to reset the game for them so that the girls can deny them? Here's the other question. Will the women be able to go and still be able to swipe and deny access to any of these guys? Because the idea is that the guys will still be able to have a chance several times a week to respond to a woman that didn't even ask for it, that did not accept to become a message, right? Ask yourself that. Like, are they going to feel happy about that? Are they going to feel like, okay, this is something that they want to have? Do they feel like this is something they want to go with? Because I don't know about that. The thing is, you can take $500 and stretch it out to 3 months on Seeking, or stretch it out to, let me see, Sugar Babies is what, you can actually stretch it out to about, basically, 6 months? Yeah, something like that. Maybe a little more than 6 months, about 7 months. And the other's the same thing. 4 or 5 months? You can get a lot more out of that. And you'll have a lot more women that are on there that might be willing to go into a relationship with you. And, you know, if you don't mind making the trip. And we're not even talking about the fact of, you know, the delusion of what these online dating apps are thinking right now, that the guys that are on these sites are so willing and they're so naive and so desperate, right? That they think, okay, so the guy is willing to go and spend $500 on our site. And then think about the kind of money he's willing to go and spend on the girl he's trying to meet up with. The girls that are going to be, he's trying to get access to. That means he's got to put up some major money on the dates, on gifts, on spoiling, all that. Like, imagine how much he has to spend. So who's the budget here? Who's the demographic? Can we kind of point out who do we think are going to be the types of guys? Because this is not for the girls. This is for the guys. How many guys do they think they're going to find on Tinder that are going to fit the narrative and, you know, that will be willing to go ahead and put that kind of money aside? Because you're talking about a guy that in his dating habit, if he's willing to put down $500 a month, he must at least be putting down a couple $1,000s a month on dating, whatever it is, clothes, self-improvement, whatever kind of accessories, you know, hair, beard. I mean, just imagine what he's probably doing to make himself look put together. And then on top of that, what it is to go ahead and create the image that he has to make himself look like a desirable catch, which is not about the guy's looks, because you're not going to worry about that too much on Tinder. I mean, yeah, sure, there's good-looking guys and good-looking girls, and they'll meet up with each other, but those are the ones that are going to get caught up. Like, there's going to be plenty of girls that will not get caught up on this because it will be taken. The ones that are still on here, chronically single, still stuck around, and they're just waiting for the payoff, waiting for the cash grab. Tinder is no better than a sugar baby. Tinder is no better than the greedy, grubbing, modern women that are on these sites willing to get paid and get whatever they can get from a guy and just sanguinate the guy of whatever cash they can get out of him or whatever gifts or whatever meals, trips, whatever. Tinder, you're no less better than a high-price whore. I said that. I don't care. I'm banned. Tinder is no better than a high-price whore. They're basically a hooker. So you want to play along? You want to go and set them up? Here's another. This is another phrase, huh? How about this? So in the places where you get, massages that are very erotic, in the Asian places, they have a woman that is called the mama-san. That's the person that's managing the place. Usually the person that usually collects the money up front and also manages the girls that they are having in the back. And so the thing is that the mama-san, this is what Tinder is. They're basically playing that role. And if not, they're basically just, well, you know what? That's the other point. You know what? The women that are on there that the Tinder Select types are going after are high price whores. Tinder's being the pimp. A high price pimp. Collecting a big chunk. Because here's the problem too. How many women will be on this site and then the Tinder Select comes on board, and then how many of these escorts are going to be on this site? And remember, you're only worrying about the fact that the guys need to make sure they show relationship intent. What about the women? Do you think any of the women on Tinder Select that are going to be viewed for those on Tinder Select, how many of those, a percentage, are also looking for relationship intent? Answer me that question. A sugar daddy arrangement? Yes. But an actual relationship. This is straight up delusion. And for Tinder to think they can get away with it, hey, good on them. They're going to find some suckers. Because if you decide to do it, yes, all these other people on social media are right. You are a sucker. You are a simp if you decide to go ahead and put your money down on this. This is not a social experiment. This is not something for fun. This is pathetic. Pathetic on Tinder to decide to go and do this. Look, you're giving the $500 price tag, and you're getting absolutely nothing. There's no matchmaking here. There's no guarantee of anyone you're going to get local. What if you have to go and fly or drive to some place to go meet somebody? And, what kind of assurances do you have of verification or any kind of, validation or security measures being done on the women? I don't hear anything about that. So you're paying $500 a month. Let me just repeat that again. $500 a month. That is a lot of money to me. That's a lot of money. And I'm saying to myself, so you're going to put me through extra security. And sure, you're going to tag me as Tinder Select. Oh, wow. What a distinction. I feel like royalty. And then I go on to the site and you think I'm going to feel good about, here we go. I'm going to get on this site. And sure, I'm going to access the girls. Which girls are you going to get? Did anybody figure that out? And do we also understand, folks, that this is the trend that's going to be happening in 2024? This is what's going to be happening. And let me give you some other indicators of where online dating is going next year. Because we're getting to that point at the end of the year. Let's just go take a few more minutes and talk about what's going to be the future of online dating. Well, side post. I put out a story about online dating's long-term effects on marital outcomes explored in a recent study. So yeah, the relationship intent and the possibilities of marriage. A new study published in Computers and Human Behavior findings suggest online dating might lead to more diverse marriages, but it brings unique challenges affecting the quality of these relationships. So it might be an avenue for seeking partners, but researchers wanted to see long-term implications of relationships and marriages. And earlier research suggested marriages beginning online might be more satisfying and stable, but they were focused on the early stages. Now, the new study wanted to look on the longer term. So, 923 adults married. And they mirrored the U.S. demographics in terms of age, race, and gender. And participants were divided almost equally between those who met their spouse online and offline. So they found out that individuals who met their spouses online were generally younger, had more dating experience prior to marriage than those who met offline, and online origin marriages were found to be more recent and more likely to be same-sex or interracial. Yeah, so not meeting necessarily in public initially, and meeting online and then taking it in real life. Right. Now, these online origin marriages reported lower levels of satisfaction and stability compared to offline marriages, traditional meeting. And some of the factors included societal marginalization, less network approval, and that online daters face more geographic distance initially. Right. If they're online, better chance they're probably farther apart. And it led to increased disclosure between partners, but greater openness led to higher satisfaction, correlated with lower stability in the marriage. And that online dating expands the dating pool, leads to more diverse marriages, but unique challenges that can impact the long-term quality of these relationships. So, yeah, you might successfully get married, but it might not last. And, you know, you're having to go through a way where it's like almost secretive, and then you have to bring it to real life. It doesn't work so well. And that's the part they're talking about. Now, one of the stories I'm going to take for the Good Men Project, I know some people might have a feeling about what this site is about, very traditional, right? But they're wanting to say here that one person was talking about in this article here about being grateful for online dating platforms helping to meet the love of his life, but the mindset of online dating is what almost prevented from meeting in the first place. And drawbacks being worth the benefits. And are most people going to still continue to meet in the future this way? But we're starting to see this more and more often. Now, according to NordVPN, here's another thing that we got to make point of about Tinder and this $500 plan. 20% of all accounts on Tinder are bots. You'll see profiles of airbrushed women with little substance in their bio. 20%, 1 in 5, are bots on Tinder. And that's believable. I can see it. Now, dating apps like Bumble, Tinder, or Hinge, I don't know how much they crack down on these profiles, but that's an issue they have. And the AI bots, they might not be able to stop. That's the problem now, is that we see that there are more AI type sites out there coming out for online dating more than ever because of the failures of online dating. We talked about that. We talked with the folks with the AI dating website, and that's where the plan is going, because they're just taking advantage of the stupidity of these online dating sites like Hinge, Bumble, and Tinder. Go figure, right? A couple more stories I want to bring up before we wrap things up. BNN and Breaking.com talking about a story about Chad fishing and a Canadian woman who stood up twice in an online dating prank. Remember we talked about that a few weeks ago about restaurants doing the same thing, where they had somebody come out and meet up, go out on a date, and just got stood up. So a woman in Canada found herself being Chadfished, and she was stood up not once but twice on the same evening by a man named Adam, whom she met on Bumble. And then what happened was that she said that she had text messages and an amiable video call, and they decided to meet in person at a local bowling alley. But Adam claimed to have mistakenly arrived at a different location, and the woman that tried to salvage the date drove to meet him, but she was met with disappointment again because Adam excused his absence, citing sudden ill health. So he actually, whoever this person said he wasn't able to go and meet up. But the idea was that the girl was being Chadfished. So there are just some guys who will just take advantage here and just do that. And don't tell me that women don't do the same thing, because they could very well do that. Same way it goes. Chadfishing. Another story we're getting on like that. One other story I wanted to bring up here that I thought was interesting that came across my purview about when you are going out and you're hanging out with friends and somebody, you decide to split a bill or something that's going on where somebody's paying for one thing, somebody's paying the other, and you don't get paid back. A Harvard-trained etiquette expert talks about how to confront a friend who never pays you back. So here's what we got. The etiquette expert is Sarah Jane Ho. She says that, she is the host of the Netflix show Mind Your Manners, an author of an upcoming book called Mind Your Manners. She said you can send them friendly reminders, but if those don't work, you might just have to consider learning it a learning opportunity. Lend as much as you're willing to lose. Now, one of the great rules I've always been told, or actually, I saw it from A Bronx Tale, and Chaz Palminteri puts the point across about Colangelo, the character in the movie, trying to go ahead and collect money from a guy that owes him $20. And, Sonny, who's the character that is the mob boss that it takes a liking to Colangelo as someone that's going to join the mob. His thing was like, listen, why are you worrying about going after this guy and the money he's got? How much you just consider that $20 is that's the money that it costs you to get rid of him? And I've honestly used that line. I've actually thought about that for a long time, and it really does work. Now, Ho says is that there's a chance that they're planning to get to it, but if it's been a week, though, you can nudge them through another medium, like with a text. If you want to confront a friend who never pays you back, you can either send them friendly reminders via email or in person saying, by the way, you have the $100 that I lent you last week? And if they continue to ignore your request for months, it's safe to say they're not going to pay you back and you'll have to eat the costs. Well, I'll tell you this too. Do you also need to go ahead and abandon the friendship? If someone just can't be honest with you about that, are you willing just to go ahead and just like, okay, they could just let you spend that money and that's nothing from it? Because the other problem you're going to have. Like, that's something that I don't like either, but, that's concerning. If you got friends that are like that, they're not... If you got people that are just willing just not to get, just screw you over and just say, oh, you know what, I'm not going to pay what I owe. You're just whatever, right? And you just decide to go, okay, well, and you just say to yourself, all right, well, they don't care. I don't care if I don't pay that tab that I was owed, right? Just like, if you're on Tinder Select and you're going to go meet a girl, they don't care about you spending $500 just to talk to them. They care about trying to get more money off of you. Because the bad friend that won't pay back and the Tinder Select girl you're going to try to meet online, they're all a little depraved and debaucherous.